Hello, and welcome back to the Turning 30 podcast, the place where we talk about what it's really like to be in your 30s. I'm your host, life coach Emma Wilson, and I'm here to help you feel better, be more confident, and get unstuck in your 30s. And today we are bringing back the solo episode because it has been a while since I've done a deep dive into something, and I'm just going to dive straight in. For those of you who are new to the Turning 30 podcast or new to my Instagram page, wherever you may have discovered me, I have a turning community, and this is a community specifically for women who are in their single chapter, who are looking to call in a partner and they want to find love in a relationship and potentially start a family in their 30s. But we're really focused on turning inwards and turning up the volume on ourselves and basically creating a life in our 30s that we love. And I already have 100 women inside. The doors will be opening again soon. But the reason I'm introducing this to you is because in today's solo episode deep dive, I'm going to be answering live a question from one of the Turning members. So as part of Turning, we have a community group where you can show up, post, share, rant, complain, celebrate, laugh, all of the things. And the other women in the group will be there to support you, advise you, help you, share their own situations and stories. And of course, I am also inside the group giving my take and often a more balanced coaching opinion. Although I do have to say that sometimes I get to a post and I'm just shocked at how good the advice is from the other women in the community. And I'm like, okay, my work here is done. However, sometimes, most of the time, I still like to give my advice and my words. And for this specific post, the member who posted shared something really vulnerable that she was going through. And as I started to formulate the reply, I was like, okay, this should be a podcast episode because there was so much that I wanted to say. And I started typing it out in the post. And I was like, actually, you know what? I'm going to ask permission to share the question. I'm going to give my answer here in the podcast episode for everybody to hear so that you can take away from the question, but also you can give you a little taste as to some of the topics that we are diving into in Turning. So the topic that we're diving into today is that feeling when you are sick of your own shit. The only way I can put it is that you are repeating the same pattern again and again. You know you want to change. You feel like you've come to some sort of rock bottom where life just feels like you're not, you understand and you know already that you need to make a change, that something needs to be different, but you're just stuck in indecision and you don't actually know what is the next step to take. So let me read this member's post and then we can dive in from there. So she wrote, I feel like I've reached my final rock bottom before something needs to change. For the past 5 years, I've been going down a safe but unaligned path, resulting in a rut and multiple rock bottoms. From feeling so stuck in a job, dealing with a difficult breakup and not having much happen since, watching friends move on with their lives, dealing with health issues, and in general just feeling a lot of loss and loneliness. I feel like the universe is now screaming at me. I've done a lot of work on myself in the past few years, and I've held on to the hope that I'm meant for something beyond what I can see. However, as I've just turned 32, it's made me reflect, and I know I can't waste any more time. Action is needed. What I've struggled with throughout this time is knowing what action to take. I don't really know what I want to do career-wise. I currently work in law and have thought about training to teach law or retrain as a therapist, or where I want to live. But I do know I need some sort of a break as I'm approaching burnout. I've done countless exercises and work therapy surrounding what I want, and I always come back to the same pattern, lack of clarity and therefore inaction. I can't seem to make a change in my current situation, especially in relation to my job, as I feel like I'm in constant nervous system dysregulation. I'm basically now bored of my own shit. I've been thinking recently about doing a working holiday visa for a year in Australia as a reset. I already did this in my early 20s and I loved it. However, I'm mindful of not doing this just to run away or think it's going to fix everything. I also worry about the financial side of things and loneliness that might occur. As you can tell, I've been overthinking a lot and thinking of all the worst case scenarios. I guess I wanted to know if anyone could relate to being at a crossroads in life, not really knowing what next step to take and how you dealt with the uncertainty or fear. I'm very grateful for this community as I know there will be people here who know how it feels to navigate big life changes. Thank you. Ooh, big question. And I think it's something that so many people go through in their 30s. There just comes this time where you know that there needs to be a turning point. And that turning point has to come from you. And that's why I actually called my community Turning, because this is representative of turning things around. However, there's so much more that I want to dive into with this. So, firstly, before anything, before I go on my pep talk, I've channeled my response. I want to validate how normal it is to know that you need to change something, but not know what to do. That is very normal. I have been in that space and I have guided clients in that space for many, many years and many, many times. And it's very normal because we're focusing so much on the how and not the fact that we want to move forward. But the thing is that we have to let go of the how. We have to let go of knowing exactly what are the steps to take. And that's what I want to talk about today, because this happens a lot. And I think that this member really beautifully and very eloquently described that feeling when the universe is signaling you like crazy, but you still can't move. So firstly, what I want to do is talk about why you just get so stuck in the inaction and the different things to consider. And we're going to also talk about how to overcome that. And then I am going to give my take on how to create your own turning point and some steps for what to do next. So the first thing is to think that the fear that you experience when you are in a place where you know you need to make a change, but you don't know exactly what to do is real. And we all know that saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's just such a typical cliche coach response, but there really is some truth in it. But I really want to break down what that fear means, because that fear is coming from a few different things. Firstly, it's coming from lack of certainty. So if you are a person, I mean, all of us like certainty, right? All of us, the human brain loves certainty. So we just really want to know what the next thing is. We really want to know with certainty that whatever we're going to do is the right thing. And that fear can keep us so stuck in the same place because we crave the control that we know we won't have if we just take actions away from the place that we're in now and towards the thing that we want. And my view on this is to really let go of needing the certainty, really pausing and thinking, why does it really matter if you do something and you don't know if it's the right next step? What if the uncertainty is the beauty of it all? What if the uncertainty is just the invitation to surrender into something different and to trust that the future version of you, when she gets that thing or when she is moving through the next steps, through the uncertainty, that she will know what to do. So I just want to talk a little bit about future you. This is a concept I use a lot in my coaching. And the thing that I come up against time and time again is that we have this distrust of the future version of ourselves in 2 months' time, in 2 years' time, in 10 years' time. We have this almost perception that the future version of ourselves won't know what to do. And when we don't trust the future version of ourselves, that's when we don't take action, because we just presume that we're going to do something wrong or that the future version of ourselves won't know how to cope with adversity, with something that feels uncertain, with something that feels fearful and scary, we just avoid doing that thing. And it comes down to the fact that we don't believe that the future version of us is going to know how to handle it. And I want to give you a reframe to that. I want you to think that the current version of yourself, as somebody who is listening to this podcast, especially this member who is inside a community, she invests in herself every single month to do this work. She shows up to the call. She's in part of the challenges that we do. She's been journaling. She's been sharing. She's showing up for herself. You're showing up for yourself by listening to this podcast, by being interested in how to change your life in your 30s. There is no reason to think that the future version of yourself, who will go through whatever uncertainty will be brought your way by this new path, and as this person said, the financial implications, that the financial worries that are coming, or the loneliness that might occur, why won't the future version of you be fully well equipped to deal with it? She will. And it's leaning into that trust that the future version of you knows what to do, that is going to help you to take those next steps, whatever they might be. Whether that's a huge, big leap of quitting your job with nothing lined up, whether that's booking a one-way ticket to Australia, whether that's moving city, whatever it is, if you can really get into a good relationship with the future version of you. So maybe in this scenario, it's good to think of the future version of you in 6 months' time. Then all of the next steps become easier because you trust yourself. And that's confidence. You back yourself. You know that you will be okay. You know that no matter what happens, it will all work out. And if it doesn't work out, it's an experiment. And you will then just change the variables. You'll evaluate it and do it all again. And I'm saying this to you with experience of what happened in my rock bottom case, to do with my career specifically, where I was being so signaled by the universe, just hated my job. This was when I was working in events, in actually it was in corporate sponsorships for events, for medical events. And this was around my 30th birthday. So we're talking almost 8 years ago. And it was during this time that I was done. I was burnt out. I was traveling every month, flying around the world, going to these conferences. I kept getting sick. I felt really unsettled. It wasn't even good enough money to keep me there, but I just had no idea what I was going to do next. And because I had originally done law and studied as a lawyer, I felt like this was my new thing that I needed to hold on to. But the truth was, this was just the zigzag of my career, my many career pivots. And when I was in this space, there were so many things that were happening to me that were making me understand and realize that I just needed to quit. But I was so scared of the next steps because I had no idea what was coming next. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, that was an amazing place to be because so many things were opening up ahead of me, but all I could focus on was the fear and the fear of failure, which also comes into this. Now, when I was in that space, I was experiencing burnout. I had a toxic manager who then left and was replaced with a toxic CEO who was working me to the ground. I remember I went once on a trip to Barcelona to go to a conference and I had a really, really bad UTI. And I was really sick and I was on the plane and I was like really in agony. I had a fever, I was dripping in sweat. And I got there and this CEO who I traveled with her, she was just one of those really ambitious women. She was older, so she was further along in her career than me, and she was all work and didn't believe in getting sick. She genuinely didn't think that you got sick. She used to say it to me, even if you're sick, you're still going to work. And I got to the hotel and I remember just being like, oh my God, I'm so sick. I need to go to a doctor, get antibiotics and go to bed. And she was like, okay, great. So we'll meet for dinner at 6 and then we'll go to the conference. And I just turned around and I said, no, actually, I'm not well. I'm going to sleep. And it was during that trip and during that night with the fever that I realized I was at rock bottom because I was doing something that I didn't actually want to do, just because I didn't know what else to do, because I was afraid of the uncertainty and I was so fearful of failing at something that I didn't know. And it was during that time when I truly understood that the universe is going to keep signaling me until I have the courage to take the steps myself. And something I'm going to talk about a little bit in a moment is understanding that you have to be the one to make the move and you can't wait for someone else to make the move for you. Fear of failure is something that we all struggle with. I think especially when it comes to our careers and our 30s, we have this perception that we should already have it all figured out by now. And the truth is that we're still supposed to be figuring it out. We are no longer in the day and age where you get a job at 18 or 21 when you finish studying and you stay in that same job until you retire in your 60s. Absolutely not. It is now completely normal to try new things, to train in something, to say, absolutely, don't want to carry on doing that for now. That was fine for my 20s. I'm in a new era. I want to study therapy. I want to become a coach. I want to do something creative. I want to move country, city, continent, whatever it is, and do something different. That is now the norm. And this is why I love the turning community, to surround yourself with other women who are making big, bold moves. But we can just get so caught up on what if it doesn't work out. And my response to that, my reframe for that is, you probably are going to fail. So instead of avoiding failure, accept it as part of the process. It will be very weird. It happens sometimes, but it's actually very strange when I see people not really know what they want to do next, know that they hate their current job, leave that job, and then fall into the next best thing. It very rarely happens. There's usually a series of failures. Maybe it's going to be a step back to take 2 steps forward, or maybe you take 2 steps forward and then you take a big step back. Whatever it is, let's embrace the zigzag career. Let's embrace the zigzag life, because this member, she's actually just turned 32. She's been in law for X amount of time. I'm guessing 5 or 6 years at least. And she now wants to do something different. It's going to be very difficult whilst you're in this space where you are so consumed with your current work. And I know what it's like to be a lawyer. It's very, very difficult, demanding job. Most jobs today, if you're working in a corporate atmosphere, or even if not, most careers are very time consuming, very demanding, especially if you're somebody who works to a high standard. And you probably don't have any mental capacity to deal with all of these things. But in your mind, you can't even take that next step because you've got this illusion that you need to have everything figured out and know that you're not going to fail before you take the next step. And I want the reframe for this to be for you to know that you are going to fail and for you to embrace that failure as something positive. Because the more we fail, the more we learn, and the more we learn, the better we become. And again, this goes back to trusting the future version of you. The future version of you who takes a step and fails or discovers it's not actually what she wants to do. If you trust her, you will know that she will do what's best for her. She will get the guidance that she needs. She will evaluate the situation. She will learn from that mistake and she will put into action more actions, more decisions. So that's my thoughts on that. Now, the next point that I think this member is coming up against, and I see time and time again, is an underlying belief that the longer that you wait, something will change. Okay? The belief that you will just be carried along the wave of life and you don't actually need to do something. Now, you may have listened to that post and said, no, this person knows that she needs to do something. Yes, she does. She's got to the point, and maybe you've got to this point too, where you know that something has to change and that you have to do it. And like she said, she's bored of her own shit. We've all been there, bored of our own shit. But I think underneath, when we time and time again choose not to do something, which also is a choice, and we choose that and we choose that and we choose that, it's coming from a place where we think eventually something will just move us. Eventually something will just come along and give us a reason to leave that job or book that flight. And you know what? Sometimes that does happen. And this happens a lot. Maybe it will be a huge breakup. Maybe your living circumstances will change. Maybe you will come into some money. Maybe you'll get fired from your job and maybe you'll actually get burnt out and you have to take time off work. All of these things could happen, but usually they don't. Or it takes a really long time for that to happen. So then you just stay in the same place that you hate for the whole time. And the way I look at it is that we really think and expect that someone is going to save us, and nobody is coming to save you. And I say this with so much love and so much compassion, and I say it to the past versions of me who were also stuck. No one is going to come and save you. You have to save yourself. And that analogy I like to use is, those arcade games, so where all the teddy bears are lying in the glass box, and the claw comes and you have to direct the claw with yourself and pick up the teddy bear, and if you manage to get it, which is never possible, you never do, then you win the toy, you win the prize of the teddy. You are one of those teddy bears, and you are literally sitting waiting in the glass box for somebody to come, for the big claw to come, which is the universe, and to come and pick you up. And we all know that those games are really, really difficult on purpose so that you don't win. And maybe that's the universe signaling you, as when the claw comes and just goes around your head and goes to pick you, and you're just about to move up and then it drops you again. And this is where I absolutely truly love coaching and accountability and being in a community, is you have to really know and understand that you have to make the decisions for yourself. Nobody is coming to make those decisions for you. And that's a really hard pressure. And I know that can cause a lot of nervous system dysregulation. And this member even wrote in her post that she's in constant nervous system dysregulation. But unfortunately, if you're experiencing with what I've been talking about today, which is the fear of uncertainty, fear of failure, whenever you take this next step, you will be dysregulated at some point, because you will experience some form of change anxiety and you will experience some form of discomfort. And the work isn't to avoid that, it's to understand how you can still make those changes and take those steps, but learn how to regulate your nervous system. We have a breathwork resident teacher, Hannah, in the Turning community, and she's teaching the girls inside the community how to regulate their nervous system through breath. This is something that has been super important for me on my journey, to really understand how, even in times of extreme stress or of big change, and I've just moved country in the last year, so we all know that this is something that is hugely stressful, but to understand how you can regulate it yourself without needing to just avoid it altogether. So that's not to invalidate this as being something that we need to accept, that we're going to be in constant dysregulation. Absolutely not. But there is this turning point where we do need to accept that somewhere along the way now, whenever you make the change that you want to make, you will experience some dysregulation, and that's okay. The other thing I just wanted to say was a coaching cliche, but I am a coaching cliche, so we're just going to say it anyway, but is that when we want to make a change and we don't know what that change is, we have to understand that we're going to be getting out of our comfort zone. And it's this fear of being out of our comfort zone that's stopping us from actually taking those steps, because you're fearful of not knowing what's next, like we spoke about, the uncertainty and the failure, and just not feeling comfortable. And I always say this as something that you've probably heard me say before if you're a repeat podcast listener, but your current status, especially the person who wrote this even wrote it in her post, you're not currently comfortable. You're avoiding getting out of your comfort zone to take the next step, but where you are right now it's the opposite of a comfort zone. So you're fearing getting out of your comfort zone, but really actually where you are right now is so uncomfortable that it's actually causing you to feel burnt out. It's causing you to be in a job that you hate. It's causing you to stay in a city that you don't even want to live in. It's stopping you from booking a flight ticket to have an experience that is going to bring you so much growth and so much life experience because you're so nervous that you're going to be in a worst case scenario than you are now. But right now, this is your worst case scenario. It's being stuck. And I really say this again with love, that the only person who is going to unstick you is you. You can listen to this episode on repeat. You can read every single book. You can do every single technique. And this person who posted also has said she's done therapy, she's done the work on herself, she's in the membership, she's doing all of the things. But at the end of the day, until you get comfortable with the fact that you are not comfortable right now and change has to happen, you're not going to move anywhere. And there's this quote that I read the other day. I think I actually posted it on my Instagram, and I just want to read it now, that I think is so, so true. And it says, it's by Case Kenny, and it says, life meets you at the level of your audacity. And I just absolutely not only love this, I've lived it. I think it's so true. The more audacity you have, the more you're going to be rewarded in your life. You have to be audacious in order to live a vibrant life. And we can absolutely choose not to be audacious, not to have audacity, to just stay in the overthinking, to stay in the overanalyzing, to just stay in our comfort zones. But our life will reflect that. The more audacious you are, the more courageous you are, the more your life will change to be aligned with actually what you want. So I absolutely love that quote. And I feel like it's something that whoever's listening to this and feels like they're at rock bottom and feels like they need to make a change, really think, what's one thing I can do? What's one decision I can make to be more audacious today? How can I have more audacity? How can I be more proactive so I can just stop waiting for things to happen to me and I can actively go after what I desire? And a lot of this has to be to ask for what you want. Ask the universe. Say out loud what you want. I want to be more free. I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I want to go to Australia. I want to meet new people. I want to travel. I want to be more independent. I want to live by the sea. I want to have nice weather. All of these things, ask for what you want and then don't hesitate to go and get them. You are the creator of your own turning points. The turning points aren't going to just come. You are going to have to go out and get them. So I just want to leave you today with a few practical steps for what you can do next. So the first most obvious step, which for some of you, you might not be quite there yet, but I think that potentially the original writer of this post is there, is to just do the thing. Just do it. Just book that flight. Just set that date that you're going. Just quit the job. Just do the thing. Stop waiting. And I feel like a way that I get in touch with this version of myself who's very decisive and who just trusts my bold ideas is that I get into what I call the one life mentality. I really truly understand that you only have one life. I only have one experience of being in this life, in this body. So time is running out. What am I waiting for? And the poster actually wrote, I don't want to waste any more time. And I know that wasting time can feel like it takes you to a place of stress, but it can also take you to a place of urgency in the best possible sense. Because for me, whenever I've had those reminders of life being super short, that has been what's made me just take big, bold steps. Okay. I don't have time to waste. I'm only on this planet for a very certain amount of time and I'm just going to go for it. And I really feel like that has been a motto of mine and a mentality of mine that has really served me over the last years. So I give that to you for you to borrow. Now, the second practical thing you can do if you're not quite there yet is to set up a timeline for yourself. Set a deadline or some sort of ultimatum where you know what needs to happen before you will do it, or it's just a set time. For example, I'm going to give myself until January the 1st, till the new year, and if things haven't aligned for me by then I will book the flight. Or I will wait until, I don't know, my rent is up on my apartment, and as soon as I go instead of signing the new lease, then I will do it. Now, I'm not a fan of doing this. I'm a huge fan of number one, but I also understand that not everybody is as audacious and bold as me, even though I do encourage you to be. The third thing that you can do is a combination of both. So you can get the ball in motion. For example, you can book the flight for later in the year, and then you can set the date to hand your notice in at work. You can start saving up to book the flight. You can start speaking it out loud. You can just take more tangible steps, and only you knows what those steps are for you. So that means that there's no going back. Give yourself no choice but to move ahead. I truly think that I wouldn't have been able to make big steps in my life if I didn't have my journal. I feel like a solo podcast episode really can't go ahead without mentioning that. My journal has become my safe space, and it helps me to make decisions, because I tell you why, because it allows me to be onto myself. When I write down in my journal all of the things that are holding me back, that are bothering me, that are making me feel afraid, that are keeping me stuck, it gives me the space that I need so that I can coach myself. So I really recommend going to your journal and starting to write what's really going on with you. And the second thing I invite you to do is to surround yourself with other people who have done decisions like this before, or who are currently in this frame of mind. And that's why I encourage you to come and join the Turning community. But really, whether you join the community or not, I think it's important to expand your mind to possibilities. So make your Instagram feed full of people who are doing the thing that you want to do, who are living the life that you want to live, because they're going to show you what's possible. They're going to help you to manifest all the things that you want by getting your brain into that frame of mind that it really is just a matter of you taking action, and there's no reason that if they can do it, that you can't do it. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I really want to say that it's sometimes quite tough, because I just feel like we get into a position sometimes in our lives where we can be so fearful and so afraid and so negative, and we're vibrating at such a low energy that it's so hard to take that step up, to actually say, okay, I'm ready for more and I want more, and then to actually do it. I just want to leave you with one last analogy. Now, this is an able-bodied analogy, and I say that because I realize that when I say it, it presumes that every single person has the ability to stand, and I know that might not actually be the case, but I still really like this analogy. I heard it once from one of my coaches, and I think that it's very true in this scenario. We often are sitting in a chair. This is an analogy. We are sitting in the chair. We have our hands literally gripping the seat, and we know that all we need to do is stand up, but our brain is keeping us stuck. Our mind, our thoughts, our beliefs, our fears are literally making our hands grip deeper and deeper into the side of the chair, and it's not allowing us to stand up. And I want to give you permission today to just stand. And I think that the analogy is that often we just feel like, okay, we have to stay sitting, but really all you have to do is stand up. Just get up out of the chair. And I invite you today to stand up, to say, okay, I am done. I am done waiting for somebody to come and get me and to yank me out of that chair. I am going to get out of the chair myself. Please let me know what you think of this episode. If you like it, I invite you to share it, of course. And also, if you could rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. I always love hearing your feedback. So let me know what you think, and I will see you all on the podcast next week.